Welcome to the Dream Huge podcast, where we'll talk with real estate investors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, athletes, and more to inspire you with their success stories so you can work hard, never give up, and dream huge. And now, let's start the show.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Huge podcast. Man, super excited for this one today. We love to share success stories from other huge dreamers, folks in the real estate business, entrepreneurs, movers, shakers, and more. And hopefully these stories will help to motivate and inspire you to also dream huge. So today we have our very special guest, Darcy Marler. How you doing, Darcy?
I'm doing really good. No, I'm pumped up after that intro. That was awesome.
Yes, that's my job. Get the energy high, get everybody pumped up to talk about, in today's episode, real estate investing. So a little bit about Darcy. He is the world's #1 residential property development educator. He helps real estate investors that are tired or frustrated from traditional flips or rentals profit in the exciting world of ground up construction. And we have Mark Gray joining us. How you doing, Mark?
What's up, Pete?
Nothing, man. We are live, buddy. We are recording. So thank you for joining us. You know, Darcy, this is going to strike a chord with some of our listeners. You know, we have a lot of listeners that are flippers, a lot of landlords, but we don't have too many, new development type folks. So I'm excited to dive into this. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
So yeah, I've been a full-time real estate investor for 23 years now. Before that, I was an IT guy and I got burnt out. Didn't want to see a computer again. So I said, I always wanted to get into real estate. So I got into that. Started doing flips and rentals. And actually, I started doing flips. And then when a couple of those didn't sell, now all of a sudden I'm a landlord. I think that's how a lot of us get into it. And then over the years, I've just done a little bit of everything, flips and burrs, and got into development. I was instrumental in getting a horse track and casino built, which I'm still part owner of, and built some houses and done a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, so where are you based out of?
I'm actually in Canada, so Calgary, Canada.
Excellent. So there was a lot to digest there. So take us back to the beginning. So you started as a flipper, couldn't sell those quite for what you wanted, so you became a landlord. So tell us a little bit about that process and how you got into that.
Yeah, so I got my first book on real estate given to me way back when I was 15. So that's over 40 years ago now. And I was just fascinated by it, but I didn't do anything with it, kind of parked it. But then I'm 33, 34, I'm burnt out. I was actually living full time and working down in South America from 96 to 2001. And Venezuela, my wife's Venezuelan, my kids are born there. So I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to get back into see if I can do this real estate thing. So I moved back and started doing some flips. Some of them went great, others not so much. And like you said, all of a sudden the exit is plan B, which is landlording. So now I'm a landlord and just went from there. So over the last 23 years, I've owned like 90 properties and 240 doors. I've had close to 1,000 tenants. On the rental side, never liked it. Never enjoyed that. It never brought me any joy at all. So finally, I've just sold everything.
Why not?
I just never liked any of it. Like the tenants, the toilets, you end up, the big boys take the good properties. So you're kind of ending up with these 1950s pieces of crap that you got to reno. So even when you're done renovating, they're still break every 2 months. It's getting to where they're really hard to buy. And now you need JV partners to, you're going to be in with somebody you barely know for the next 8 or 10 years while we're waiting for this to appreciate and stuff. So it just, I never liked any of it.
Well, yeah, and you made a great point. I think investors, especially newer investors, get so hung up on the per door price or the per unit price, and they want to pay as cheap as possible. But those low price properties come with so much capital expenditures that you are not even planning on. The cash flow looks great on paper until you buy them and you figure out and you really open that book up and start to read what's going on in there. So I think that's what kind of led you to developing new. And we are doing some of that here. I think there's a great need for it here. We need 5,000 new units here in our county alone. We need 100,000 if you go down to Columbus, Ohio. But we need people who know how to do it. So
Yeah.
you're going to help us there, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, so the other thing too is, you walk into these rental conferences, your first time, you're all green and, they just say, the property management company is going to do everything. It's hands off. There's an exit strategy in 3 to 5 years, cash flow every month. And then, property management companies suck and you end up doing most of the work yourself. And there goes your weekend with your family. So yeah, I just never liked anything about it. Yeah. So I'm all about new. And the other thing too, is I got tired of nasty, right? You're dealing with these class D and class C buildings and asbestos and all this other stuff. No, I want new. Give me new. Let me be creative. Let me build something. Let me watch the, literally rise out of the ground. So yeah, I've done a full 180 and got rid of all the old stuff.
right. So new cash flows less because you're probably paying more up front. But once you factor in all the repairs and all the headaches of the older class C and D properties, you may be about the same.
Yeah.
And it's more predictable is what I like
Yes.
on the new stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it may be very tight on the cash flow, but at least it's predictable. You're not going to have those huge turns,
Yeah.
those huge unforeseen expenses, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're always scared when you're renovating some old property. You don't want to go into the wall. You don't know what the heck surprises get. Electrically, plumbing wise, you don't know what's happening. So yeah, so you get these surprises, right? Foundation, all this stuff. Where at least new, you start with a blank slate. Let's get a quote from several builders, and okay, now, unless there's something with the city or whatever that I don't foresee, typically your budgets can be fairly static. So that's a real big change.
So Darcy, take me through the building process from start to finish, and what are you typically building?
So typically there's different exits, so you can't build new and then keep it as a rental. I prefer to just sell. Like I build and bank is what I call it. And so I'm looking this is another way to eliminate some of the competition because, there's anybody that ever watched the real estate show on TV or went to a conference or watched a podcast, we're all going after the same property, right? We're looking for properties to renovate because we're taught the values in the building. We're going to get rich by adding value to the building. Well, what if the value is in the land, which it is more and more? So actually, I'm looking for vacant lots or properties that are, communities actually that were developed in the 1940s or 50s and earlier. The average, here's an interesting fact. The average lifespan of a wooden structure in North America is 70 years and brick is 90. So it's not like Europe where it lasts forever. So that puts us in 1954 and 1934. So why are we fixing up the 1940s and 1910 kind of stuff? Let's tear them down and come back with higher density, right? Let's come back with a duplex or fourplex or whatever. And so I'm all about building and then selling. So to answer your question, what's the process? So we find, something that, really nobody else is looking for. Not too many of us know what to do with vacant land. Or your fellow investors, most of us will drive right by it. They don't know what to do with, an old stuff that's kind of beyond repair. Here's a trick. If you knock down the old thing, you've got a vacant lot. So if you know what to do with a vacant lot, there's your start. Then, there's basically three parts. There's kind of the permitting entitlement bit where you maybe have to get some permits to do what you want to do. There's getting the land ready. And then there's the physical building of the house or the duplex or the fourplex. So the interesting part in this world is that if we think like investors and don't, we're not on-site supervisor, we're not doing the building ourselves, let's delegate that. So we can think like investors. Let's find the right areas to do this with. Let's find the opportunities. Let's put the deal together financing wise. And then your team's going to do basically the rest of it. Your architect is going to do the back and forth with the city, the drawings and all that, getting your permits. You're going to hire a builder or get a project manager, somebody to actually physically take care of putting the utility pipes in and then building the house or whatever. So we can be focused on the next one while our team is basically getting it in. So it's not as hard as most people think. Most people think this is kind of just for the big guys and it's too hard, but you don't need construction experience.
Are you aiming for land bank lots, inner city? Are you reaching out to outer areas? What's that look like?
So that's the great thing too, is there's so many entry and exit points and so many different strategies. You can just maybe do the paperwork part. You can maybe just change zoning and density, increase the value of the land, and then sell that to a builder or some other investor. Or I can take a vacant lot, split it in two, make sure both sides are serviced, and then I can sell those two service lots. I don't physically have to build. where I can take it all the way through and build. I can do, so that's an example of basically land development on a single lot. It can be 20 acres on the outskirts of town, basically doing the same thing. So there's kind of space for everybody. I can find a lot, knock on the house next door, and maybe I put a little lot assembly together too. Right now I got 50 foot of frontage instead of just the one. I can find something maybe bigger and split it up into smaller lots. So lot severance too. So there's all these kind of what I call micro strategies within this grander thing that allows basically smaller investors to get into this where they probably didn't think they could before.
Do you have a sweet spot for square footage, basement, no basement? What does that look like?
That's different basically all over the country, right? Because there's some places there's just no basements, right? It just doesn't work. Or some, bungalow is the best thing. Other places are 2-story. So really that's kind of a local thing. I always say, what does the area want and need? Like, what are we short of? What's kind of that sweet spot? So, we got lots of these, let's just say, for example, there's lots of these 1940s single family homes, but there's not a lot of, side-by-side townhouses or maybe, quadplexes or fourplexes, whatever you want to call them. So what does the area want and need? What's it look like in your local area? Because what's different here in the flip and rental world, I'm basically taking a building and I'm just renovating, right? So it's 1 for 1. In this world, we're adding units, right? We're taking one old one and we're adding, building a fourplex. So now we're adding 4. Or I'm taking 20 acres on the outskirts of town and I'm going to build 80 lots, right? So I'm adding. So does the area need that growth? Are people moving into the area? Are they moving out? So there's got to be kind of an economic reason to do this. And if there is, then that's kind of the sweet spot. You can meet meet the demand with supply.
Yeah. And here's the beautiful thing. And you touched on this. As a builder, believe it or not, or a developer, you don't need the money. Would you agree with that?
All the same things we taught in the flip and rental world about JV partners and other people's money, that still works here. Perfect. The difference is, the benefit is that now I can also do more things. There's more opportunities to partner with the seller. In the flip and rental world, I need the seller to leave because I got to renovate their place. Here, I want them to stay and keep paying insurance and cutting the grass while I'm getting the permits and doing what I need to do. So, can you potentially, instead of searching for a JV partner, can you, potentially do a deal with the seller where now I actually don't have to buy that original house or piece of dirt. They're going to continue to own it, and we're just going to partner together. I'm going to do all the paperwork stuff. And so there's lots of opportunities. I teach like 11 or 12 different ways to partner with the seller. So there's all the old stuff plus all these new ways in this world to finance stuff.
Excellent. And you teach all of these different ways. Where is the best spot for people to hook up with you if they want to learn more?
You can just go to my website, which is darcymarler.com, or I've got a YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and go Darcy Marler channel, and I've got like 145 videos on construction and development, so you can go down the rabbit hole.
Love it. Mark, questions?
Yeah. Do you have any secrets or anything that you're looking for when you're scoping out the vacant land?
Basically, you're looking for, I'm looking for as large as possible. You kind of don't want the skinny 25 foot or 35 foot wide, unless you can do a little land assembly. So maybe 50 foot. Are you looking for scattered lots where, there's an area that's fully developed and there's a lot here or there, so that, you kind of can see the precedent, what else is already done. Other times I'm going into an older community, like a 1930s or 1940s build. And if are other people starting to build these duplexes and fourplexes, well, now I know that the NIMBY crowd isn't too strong, right? So if other people are doing it, you kind of don't want to be the first person into a community because there's going to be the pushback from the community. But if there are already people building what you want, then it's kind of safer. So I'm looking for those kind of opportunities, precedent, and looking for areas where I already know what the end goal is really. So I can envision what I'm going to build.
What else, Mark? Are your questions answered? Are we ready to go out and build?
I had questions in my head, but he kept answering before I got to him.
Let me just give you a real quick example. So last 10 days of August, I did a trip to Texas and Florida, and I actually put a video together on my YouTube channel of 33 real life examples of how you can do this. And just a real quick example here in Florida. I'm doing this myself. So you can buy land in certain parts of the Gulf Coast side for about $30,000 or $40,000, right? All in to build a house, just a single family house. You're maybe $320,000. sells for 420, you back off some commissions, some financing costs, you're looking at maybe $50,000 or $60,000 profit. To get into it, 25% down, 75% construction loan means you're out of pocket about $80,000. So within 10 months, cradle to grave, you can, $80,000 in will get you $50,000 or $60,000 back. So that's a pretty good cash on cash return real quick, from buying the lot to handing the keys to the new family in about 10 months. So these are kind of the opportunities that are out there in this building.
Great example with real life numbers there. Appreciate that, Darcy. Yeah, that drove home a good point right there. Okay, so like I said, we're going to keep it short and sweet today. We're going to get your message out there and hopefully inspire and motivate others to dream huge and also invest in real estate. We're big real estate investors here as well. So thank you, Darcy, for coming on today. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm always, because I wasn't happy for a long part of my journey. I was doing the rentals and flips and all that. So what do you want to do? Like, what makes you happy? 95% of what's taught out there is flips and rentals and wholesaling and Airbnb. If you don't like that, just know that there's other options out there that you can still be in real estate and actually be happy as you're investing, which I know for a lot of people, that's kind of a crazy thought.
That should be your website name, The Happy Investor.
There you go.
Darcy, the Happy Investor.
Love it.
I love it, man. Love it. Mark, anything else? Closing thoughts?
No, I think that sums it up pretty good. We're me and Peter are flippers. We enjoy doing it, but it does come with its headaches every once in a while. So, and I've always been intrigued with building. So
you deal with old and you're always, what I found about, I did a lot of flipping too, and you're always on the hunt, right? Because you're always trying to find the next one. So there's a lot of pressure because you got to keep your trades busy because you don't want to lose your framer. So there's a lot of pressure now with prices going up and up. It's harder to do too. So yeah, like I said, I don't like old. So I got rid of all my old stuff and just
love it. Great perspective, interesting perspective. And that's what's great about real estate. Every investor is a little bit different. Everybody finds a little bit different way to do it. And there's enough to go around for everyone to succeed in this game. So that's why we love sharing stories like this. So Darcy Marler, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you very much. Mark Gray, thank you for taking the time today as well. Appreciate you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to the Dream Huge podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, remember the rules. Work hard. Never give up. And dream huge. Let's see the guns, Darcy. Yes.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Dream Huge podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more inspiring content, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Dream Huge Realty and on TikTok at Dream Huge Inc. Until next time.